can I get people to engage on that side of the process? But it would be me, even though I tried to, help people understand that WooCommerce was very flexible, right? Especially as you can manage the server quite well and give maintenance to it, optimize it. Whereas Shopify is pretty locked in and they control the server, right? So there are things on WordPress that you can do that you cannot do on Shopify. So I try to educate people to go against the current, but quite rapidly, I noticed that I couldn't do anything about it. And I just, all right, flip the switch. Let me just plug in the tech of Shopify into the team. Let's see how I can deliver the same level of excellence that we've been delivering over, with the WordPress environment once you Shopify. So that's how we all started.
Right.
So from that point on until now, we've helped close to 500 different Shopify store owners.
Welcome back to Growth Lab Sessions. I'm João, CEO of Stealth White Label Marketing Agency, and my mission is simple: to help marketing agencies grow and build sustainable businesses. Today we're excited to welcome Igor. He is the CEO of Vasta. Igor is an expert in the e-commerce optimization, specializing in helping businesses tackle cart abandonment and improve checkout process. His innovative approach has helped Shopify merchants boost their sales by up to 32% through simple, impactful adjustments. Igor, are you ready to take it to the lab?
I was born ready. Let's go.
All right, awesome. So, starting out your agency, right? Tell me about that process and how that came about.
It's a long story. Are you ready?
Yes.
But I'll try to keep it short. Because when I moved to the US from Brazil, I moved to the US about 15 years ago. And I went through this process of course, coming from the bottom, studying a lot, working, in restaurants, delivering food and so on. And I got into the agency space serving doctors, right? So I joined this medical marketing group back then. I spent 6 years with them. It was awesome. And at a certain point, I couldn't grow anymore. So I decided to do my own thing. During the last year of my relationship with this agency, I was already pretty involved with e-commerce because I love selling stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And then I got involved with e-commerce. I was already going to different masterminds and connecting with people in the industry, getting to understand what that would look like. I had a few clients on the side. I had already built and burned a bunch of dropshipping stores of my own.
Okay.
And, because it was at that period of time, there was dropshipping was booming.
What year was that?
That was 2014.
Okay.
2000.
So right in the top of the dropshipping world.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. 2012, 2014. So that was at the cusp, right? And then I was already doing that. Then I literally just had clients, and I was already doing my own thing. So basically,
but you were still working for the medical
Yes,
agency.
I was still there.
Okay.
I was still there, right? Because I wanted to grow. I always wanted to have my own thing, right? And at that point in time, I couldn't see the growth anymore to ride along with that agency. I learned so much.
But you were doing sales for them.
No, I was doing. I started as a developer, even though I went to school for marketing and advertising, but I started there as a developer. And within 3 years, I became the vice president of marketing. So it was a pretty rapid growth. And then spent 3 actual years with them and didn't see
a future. But then, meanwhile, you were working on your own dropshipping stores because you wanted more scale and grow, right?
Exactly.
You wanted to make more money,
and
you didn't see a path at your job.
For sure.
Okay.
So that happened, and then at the same time that I was doing my own thing with dropshipping stores, since I was already in the agency space, I was already connecting with different players in the e-com game and collecting some clients here and there. So that was literally how I flipped into e-com agency model, right?
But when you were getting clients, it was sort of a full service. You were giving marketing support full service, or were you specializing in a specific area?
I was more focused on building the store and optimizing for search engine.
Okay.
Right? So that was pretty much dev and SEO.
And that was 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
About that time.
About that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you make the full flip into the marketing, into creating your own marketing agency, specializing in e-commerce? When was that switch where you're like, boss, I'm out, thank you so much, but it's time to spread my wings and fly?
Yeah, there was a natural progression
Okay.
in our relationship, right? She was amazing. I learned so much with that woman, right? I mean, she was a machine, bro.
Okay.
Right? You know how agency owners are.
Yeah.
They get shit done.
Right.
Right? And I got to learn a lot about how she operated and everything else. And at that point in time, it was just a matter of the natural progression of the whole process that I could no longer be part of the team. Right? So the moment was literally about saying, how can I leverage the team that I had already built?
Yeah.
Right? Especially the dev team. And we were working with, at that point in time, we had built close to 300 different WordPress websites.
Wow. But you and your team alone? Or inside of
the business, right? And then we saw the opportunity of, doing that part of the process. I had built the development team here in Brazil, right?
Okay.
And she didn't want to keep him. So I was like, what about I'll keep him? I'll take him from here.
She wanted to cut the Brazilian team and just work with another team?
I don't know if she wanted to cut him, but I at that point in time, I didn't see her taking care of them as I wish they would be taken care of. So I worked out a deal with her to take over the team and then, help her still grow along, right? With the team, have the dev team help her, but still doing my own thing inside. So that was the flipping point, the turning point, right?
And so so you had a conversation with her and she's like, okay, cool, you can go ahead and keep the team. Like, what did that look like?
Basically, it was me literally getting that department, still serving her in her business with that department.
But sort of a contractor.
Yes.
So that was your first client?
Yes, basically.
So your previous job became
my first client.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, you had already some clients on the side,
yes.
Right? And so this was an additional client that paid you the most, maybe?
Yes, that was the biggest paying client at that moment. And we worked with her for an extra 2 years and a half. Okay. Right? And at that point in time was basically when I was invited to run, webinars for this e-commerce community, because I was very, I've been very tech savvy for a long time. So in one of the masterminds that I was part of, I got invited to, just to join the community and teach them how to, take care of their tech. So that was literally the starting point, saying, oh, no kidding. Yeah. I'm being noticed for the other side of things, because I was doing a lot of cool stuff on ClickFunnels, right? That was unknown at that time.
Like what? You said
yes, I like to bend the technology in a sense. Right? And see how we can stretch it out. So basically, I built a full-on e-com website, a full-on e-com funnel inside of ClickFunnels. Okay. So I mean, because ClickFunnels is typically a way for people to sell info products. Yep. And so you were selling e-commerce. Yes. Instead of ClickFunnels. Yes. And so people that were really into ClickFunnels, because like at that time, 2015 through 2018 or 2020,
ClickFunnels was booming.
Booming, yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so people that were like e-com people and were going to the Russell Brunson masterminds or whatever, they're like, how can I run my e-commerce store using the tech of ClickFunnels? And that's where you showed up.
Exactly.
Okay.
So,
awesome.
So at that point in time, I was still pretty heavily involved with WooCommerce,
Okay.
WordPress,
Yeah.
right? Getting ClickFunnels to be very dialed. So I did a lot of stuff in ClickFunnels. And then I got invited to be part of this, e-commerce community.
Okay.
And in the community, it was all about Shopify, Shopify and ClickFunnels, right? Back and forth. And then I had all of this experience with WooCommerce. I was like, shit, how can I get people to engage on that side of the process? But it would be me, even though I tried to, help people understand that WooCommerce was very flexible, right? Especially as you can manage the server quite well and give maintenance to it, optimize it. Whereas Shopify is pretty locked in and they control the server, right? So there are things on WordPress that you can do that you cannot do on Shopify. So I try to educate people to go against the current, but quite rapidly, I noticed that I couldn't do anything about it. And I just, all right, flip the switch. Let me just plug in the tech of Shopify into the team. Let's see how I can deliver the same level of excellence that we've been delivering over, with the WordPress environment onto Shopify. So that's how it all started.
Right.
So from that point on until now, we've helped close to 500 different Shopify store owners.
Wow. Okay. Because, typically the way that we start the podcast is I'm always asking about to the guest how they got started, because a lot of people in the agency space, they're curious about how do I start, and your process wasn't like I want to create my own agency. Your process was like I'm in the US, I want to grind, I want to work hard, and then eventually you just found yourself having an agency. Through the process you realized, okay, I know how to build tech inside of Shopify. So that's going to be my niche, and that's going to be my offer, right? Something that's a lot related to technology inside of Shopify.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, 100%.
So, when you made this flip, how many people did you have in your team?
We had about 5 people.
5 people?
5 to 6.
And then, what were your goals around that time? Did you think about, okay, I want to create a really good offer, I want to start acquiring a lot of clients? What was going through your mind in terms of how can I scale this?
Funny story is that since I was invited to this e-commerce community, I had a straight line of client acquisition with zero acquisition costs. Right? Because I was getting on webinars every Tuesday, teaching them how to, optimize their stores and going through their process of helping them give maintenance to the store and so on, name it, giving them a bunch of different insights, right? On how to further squeeze more money inside of their tech, inside of their Shopify store. And, as an entrepreneur, the vast majority of entrepreneurs, they don't want to learn how to do it. They want to know who to do it.
Who can do it
for them, right? Yes,
yeah.
Right? So that was literally the catch.
Right.
I would give away a bunch of value, and then some of them would just apply a bunch of those things. A lot of them would connect with me and say, Igor, I want you to do it. And then that's how you all started.
And so you were the only salesperson, right?
Yes.
So you would do sales plus CEO and run the team. What about client management?
For a long time, I've done everything on my own.
Wow.
A lot of it.
Okay.
I've worked all the hats.
Okay.
All of them. So I spent close to 6 years, pretty dialed and pretty reliant on that source of revenue generation.
Just
referrals.
right.
Because, you know, a lot of my biggest clients that I still work with, they're either they were there at that point in time, we started the relationship at that point, or they came through referrals that came from those people.
Right.
So it's all interconnected. So for a long time, I relied only on referrals, right? And then about close to a year ago, like I would say 8 months, we've been going heavily into controlling the acquisition channel. So that's where we started to be more focused into creating content. You know, I'm still the face of the company, right? I'm still going to continue to be the face of the company for a long time. There are no plans to stray away from it.
Right.
But creating content, creating copy, creating, you know, blog posts, creating ads, and then crafting the offers, changing the offers, getting people through the pipeline.
So how big is your team now?
As of now, don't quote me for that. I would say about 21.
Okay, so from going to 5 people back then, right, to 21, when did you make the switch where it's like, in terms of mindset, where it's like, I need to start delegating some things, I can't be wearing all these hats, who can I bring on, how can I bring these people on the team? Like, when did you start thinking about those things, or did you always want to be very involved?
Funny you asked. Funny you asked, because I see myself as a recovering perfectionist.
Okay.
Right. A perfectionist in rehab. That has helped me present the way of delivering the results, fulfilling the services that we've promised to our clients at a very high level, right? Very detail-oriented type of quality, right? And I was always the bottleneck. I was always the end point before it got delivered to the client. So I would do the sales, I would do the operation, I would do the fulfillment, with people helping me, but I would be that barrier.
You'd be the project manager
plus
the account manager plus the salesperson.
Yes.
Okay.
Right? So the point in time that I decided to go through this was about, I would say about almost 5 years ago. I went through this emotional intelligence training, and one of the things that I got from there was this quote that said, the ultimate version of control is to let go of control. And that thing still hammers in my mind day in and day out, because as I mentioned, I'm a perfectionist in recovery.
Yeah.
Right? So it's easy for me to get back into that same level of being, you know, into micromanaging the whole process and being in it rather than being on the business. Right? So that was the turning point. Of saying, okay, I need people, right? And at that point in time, I already had 2 of my brothers working with me. Right? I already had one of my first developers, who's now our CTO and our business partner as well. So basically, by having 2 brothers, he already gave me a lot of trust to give things away, right? And say, okay, I can rely on you furthermore without. Of course, there are things for us to work out and make it better. But that was the turning point in letting them control what they do best, rather than saying, okay, I give you partial control. It's just like, go do your thing.
Right. Okay, cool. And are your 2 brothers still working with you? Yeah. So it's Iago
and Bruno.
Okay. I haven't seen Bruno.
Yeah, you haven't. Yeah.
So let's you mentioned mindset, right? I know that we met at Agency Founders event, you know, an event that Eddie and Bad Marketing puts together, Eddie and Ashton put together, as well as the Bad Marketing team. events, we met there, and events are really big for you, right?
Yeah.
What was the first event you went to?
Bro, the first event I went to, do you know Alex Becker?
Yes.
Okay, it was Alex Becker in Vegas about, I would say about 10 years ago.
Wow.
10 years ago. It was one of the...
That's the height of dropshipping. Right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, right? And then Alex Becker at that point in time was very SEO heavy.
Right.
Talking about SEO with all the big kids in the game, right? With the OMG guys, and then I went there and I got to connect with a lot of people in there and see the mindset behind networking, behind the greatest minds in the industry.
Yeah.
So that was the first point.
Okay. So what are your thoughts about Alex Becker?
I think that dude's a maniac. He's awesome.
He's awesome, right?
He's awesome.
He can see the waves and ride whatever wave comes his way.
Yeah.
SEO, info products, crypto.
Crypto now,
right?
that's crazy. And
now it's just like he's back to the advertising conversation and how to make money online. This stupid website has made me absurd amount of stupid rich money. Here's how you can do it, right?
Yeah.
He is the master of kind of clickbait, but he also delivers. I really like him as well. He knows his stuff.
Yeah.
He knows it inside out. He's super smart.
Yeah, truly.
And then, through the years, you kept going to events and going to more events. Do you, for people that don't really go to events, right, and are watching this, what's your perspective and the way you see events?
If not, is the biggest way for you to leverage your reach.
Yeah.
Right? Because look at it this way. That's where we met each other.
Yeah.
Now I'm in front of your audience.
Right.
Yes?
Yes.
Right? So because we connected. So that's the place where we can connect and create different possibilities for our businesses.
Right.
Right? That's how I see it. Of course, it all depends on how intimate the events are. The more intimate they are, the more reach you get to leverage. Right. Because you get to, well, let me put it this way. I'm a lot about building meaningful relationships rather than going to an event and I've seen guys just saying, "Oh, I'm networking." Boom, 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 shaking a lot of hands. I don't do that. I want to get to one person and say, "Who are you?" Not what you do or what you have. I want to understand who you are. Right. I feel like that thing gets to build relationships that are more profound. Back to the process. Basically, as events are the biggest leverage that I found. Right. It is, for me, it's the way to build relationships, profound relationships. Right. That's what I look into doing and building with anybody. That's how we met, right? And that's why we're here now, right? That's because we built a connection at that point in time, and then I can get you leverage what you got going on, right? Through your audience, right? And then reach different people, right? So that's basically that's basically how I look at events. I prefer to go to more intimate events where we have less people, less distraction. I'm not there to shake everybody's hands, even though I do shake.
Yes, you do.
all the hands with respect and appreciation. However, I tend to be focused into building certain relationships more in depth. Right. Right? I'm very,
outgoing
and
warm
Brazilian. And I chat with everybody, but it's all about going deeper into relationshiping. It's about going deeper into who you are rather than what you have or what you do, right? Because your identity comes before everything that you do or everything that you have. So that's what I focus on. That's how I build relationships. And because if we either we work together or we don't, I know that we've built a relationship based off of identity that will last way longer, and it can yield so many different results that are not just financial results.
Right, totally. Yeah, I mean, I think also the energy exchange, right? When you're meeting people at events, people that are going to events, they're putting their money where their mouth is, right? Because you can say, oh, I want to become super rich. I want to whatever, right? If you're not leaving your house and paying to go to an event, flying somewhere, right? And then meeting people there, you're not really connecting with people that are actually making a big change on average, right? There's like a lot of people that just work out of their basements and create something amazing. But typically when you meet people at events, they're really working hard and they want to grow. And so, you know, when you meet people like that, who the foundation is, I want to grow, I am ambitious, and then you identify with people that, you know, share the same interests, you can become friends with them. But then you're creating a network of friendships that not only are ambitious, but also do similar things that you like to do. You can, you know, party together, travel together, just sit on a podcast and chat with each other. But you also get knowledge at these events, right? And so how has the knowledge that you've acquired from events impacted your business? Like, what's your strategy for, because, you know, a lot of people go to events and then they don't really have a strategy to follow up on things they learn. How do you look at that?
It is so easy to go there and be overwhelmed by the amount of knowledge that you acquire. Right? To get educated. I feel like the knowledge is the actual application of where you learn, right? And one thing that I got from Eddie Malouf about a couple years ago when I went to the first agency founders event, he went up on the stage and he goes, guys, throughout this year, find 2 or 3 things that you're actually going to implement rather than being lost into this realm of information, right? Because it's a lot and you get bombarded and you want just to get out of it and implement everything. But then it creates analysis paralysis, because you don't know what to do first. So for me, it's been about going to source, picking up, actually prioritizing the things that makes the most sense for the business and say, okay, this is what we're going to be applying. Because if I get 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things out of that whole event and I apply to my business, it'll grow no matter what.
For sure. So what's your view now? Like, when you started your agency, you know, a while ago, you've been focused on Shopify for a while now. What are some of the things that you've done to your agency that has helped you make more money?
Interesting. I believe that making more money, it's not only about getting more money through the door, it's also about reducing your costs. Right? How do we get to optimize what we already have so the profit margins are a lot larger, right? So I do a lot of gross profit optimization for my clients. I look into their business holistically. So it's been a matter of doing the same thing for my own business, right? Looking at the profit margins and say, how can I optimize it? How can I look at the gross profit and be very dialed? So some of the things that we've been able to do that has allowed us to reduce costs, right? Of course, let go control. Right? Let go control for me has been huge. It has been one of the biggest things of all. So I can trust on people who are going to be doing their job at excellence, even though they're not gonna go from A to B the way that I want them to go. They're gonna find their ways there and deliver the same result and make their own mistakes. So I need to be very accepting and learning with that part of the process, which has been very enlightening for me. On the flip side, being able to craft my offers differently, continuously work on my offers, right? Because for a long time, for example, I had never been able to create retainers for development work,
That's hard.
right?
Yes.
It's very hard.
Because usually development work is just a delivery of whatever they want built. But then sometimes it's a one-time project. So how can you get more the next month? And so getting retainers, like you've been able to develop that. And so tell me a little bit about that, while you're finishing your point.
Well, because basically it's all about crafting the offer.
Right.
It's all about being obsessive in relation to the offers, right? Making a point to test it out, validate it, and see, okay, what's next? How can I continue to provide more value to my client without really increasing the amount of money that they're actually going to be investing into my business?
Right.
Just so I can continue to improve the LTV of that client, right? I have clients with us. We have clients with us who have been with us for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years.
Wow.
Some of our biggest clients have been with us for 5 years.
Wow.
Right.
5 years with the same client.
Right?
That is amazing.
So that's based off of some of those relationships that have been built in the past.
Right.
That is all about providing the value, looking at their bottom line and being very understanding of what would make the most difference for them.
Right.
Even though I might not make the most money right off the bat, but at least that relationship keeps on stretching and being built over the years.
So long term versus short term. And so far you've mentioned that you focus on reducing costs, right? So far to make more money, you've mentioned that you focused on reducing costs, changing your offer. And are those the two? Is there anything else that you've been focused on to make more money for your agency?
Creating pods.
Creating pods, okay.
Right? So you can understand how to serve our clients at the highest level, right? Instead of having everybody working on everything, I have, having a few people working in up to certain projects, and then let's go to the next pod, build the next pod with that amount of clients. And of course that AI has been huge.
Right.
I mean, that's a whole conversation.
Yeah, no, but that's interesting because, this is a more high level conversation where we're not talking about creating offers, picking a niche. You're talking about how can I make more money with your current clients by doing more sophisticated things, which is reducing costs. I mean, a lot of people are just focused on making more, selling more. You're actually looking at your costs and optimizing them. Revising your offers. So that's something that I feel like a lot of agency owners don't do, is testing new offers. Some of them stay behind and they think that because they've created an offer that has worked 2 years ago, it's still gonna work. And it doesn't. You're always revising your offer. So you can, but always focused on LTV, right? Because a lot of people also don't focus on LTV. And so lifetime value of a customer. And so reducing costs, offer change, structure, right? That's something that a lot of people don't focus on. I feel like you've been able to focus on changing your structure of how your team is delivering the service so it's more optimal. And lastly, tools.
Yes.
And so tell us a little bit about tools, AI tools. How, what are the top 3 ways you're leveraging AI for your agency?
Well, all right. So let's put it this way. AI has been taking over the world, right?
Right. Since when?
Well, forever.
Forever? No, but for how long has AI taken? When was the start of the AI takeover?
Right. I would say about a year ago was the point in time that we really took that in.
Okay.
Right. But it's still its adoption is still growing. Within our business.
Right.
Because there are levels to it.
Right.
Right. we go from creating a little bit of content here and there to, boosting this thing through utilizing ClickUp's AI to be able to run different reports and understand where that client is at within the organization of that project itself. I mean, nowadays there's AI for everything. Right? So it's not only about using ChatGPT, right? It's about how do we get to automate as many different processes as possible, right? It goes from, even on the sales side of things, which is fun, because I love it. I love human behavior and analyzing human behavior. And sometimes I get to understand, I get to pull what a client says on an email or on a text message or on a Slack message, and bring that thing into AI, into ChatGPT, and say, analyze the behavior so I understand what this client's feeling, and how I can position my message to deliver the desired result.
That's amazing.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's a matter of not only thinking about myself through the process, but it's also to utilize AI to give me different scenarios that we can apply. And then it's a matter of testing, right? Seeing what works, what doesn't, and so on and so forth. So I believe that AI, it's all about, and it's been this way in the business, it's all about training the team and training myself to utilize AI as a checker. Right? We are the checkers, not the doers per se. We let AI do the most. And since we are very well versed onto our craft, we know what AI is going to provide us with, and we need just to check if it's on the same line of thought that we want to deliver to our clients. Right? So to circle back to what I was saying, I believe that AI has been taking over the world, but it's not just going to remove people from the game, right? We're still thinkers. We're still checkers. We need to craft our art and understand how to operate. But AI is going to automate a bunch of those things and deliver a bunch of different scenarios that we can say, that's the one. Just like the message that I analyze the behavior of a client, whether it is positive or negative, and I want to achieve a certain result, then I want to deliver it. But then AI just brings 3 to 5 scenarios. I'm always asking, hey, bring me 3 scenarios that I can pick from.
Amazing. Okay, so you're talking about AI analyzing a client message and understanding the thoughts behind the message, right? So do you do that in certain situations, or is it like, I have a question about this? Do you always analyze it? Do you have processes already set up that does this recurring on a weekly basis? Do you think that's valuable? Like, what are your thoughts about that?
There's always value into automating things, right? Because I get to replace myself. I feel like it all comes with control. Letting go control. But on the flip side, I still want to have a feel for it. I still have that feel for it. So I don't automate everything. Because there is a human touch to it. Right? There must be. And clients want to have that. It's not only about, how can I automate the responses? I've seen responses from CEOs that have been in connection with me via email, and their responses are basically ChatGPT responses that go so rapidly, that get to my inbox so rapidly, but I can spot how it's AI driven. Right?
So you send an email to a person and ChatGPT answers
that
without them reading?
Well, I'm not sure if they, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. But I see that it is AI made. Right? AI created. So I believe that that's the world that we're in.
Right.
However, I prefer to deviate from it a little bit and bring my personal touch to it, because that's what's taking me here. I do understand that what's taking me here is not what's going to take me to, where I want to be.
Right.
However, we're just humans. We seek for connections.
Right.
A brain needs another brain to live.
Yeah.
It's not a brain in a machine.
Right.
This connection here, this synchronicity here, it's something that we built. We long for. Right. We can be behind the screens all day long, but put yourself in a room and stay there in a dark room in your garage or something.
You're gonna go crazy.
You're gonna go crazy if you don't have a human connection.
True.
You see what I'm saying?
For sure. I do think that AI is a great alerting system. Right? So like, for example, we're talking about this AI analyzing a conversation on Slack, for example, right? Let's say you have 100 channels, right? We have over 150 Slack channels with our clients. And a lot of times, you can train people as much as you want, right? Your account managers, your media buyers, your support team to your clients. But you're not going to, you got to put a quality control in place. And so AI can be that quality control plus alerting system, so that you can be alerted to it. The ticket will rise to the top of your inbox, and you'll be like, oh, I got to look at this. And so something that we're building internally for ourselves and eventually launch it as a product is this alerting system that is going to analyze the conversations every single day that's happening on Slack, analyzing call recordings of client meetings, and alerting the sentiment of the client if it changes and goes below a certain point, right? So if we sense churn, if we sense opportunity for upsells, if we sense opportunities to, a frustration that the client is not getting exactly what they need, that is alerted and escalated to the coordinator or to the head of the department that will then look at that in a daily stand-up, understand what's going on with the direct client manager, and craft a strategy to change how that relationship is going, to upsell a certain product, right? Maybe the account managers won't see the need to upsell something. And so that's a nice alerting system for the account manager head to be like, here you go. You just got to offer it, and that's what they're asking, right? And so do you think those sort of AI companions are useful?
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
That's lovely, right?
Yeah.
It's a huge solution.
Yeah.
Because it allows you to run an X-ray.
Right.
Before, it circles back to the same point we were making, right? We're talking about. It's all about preparing the controller to make better decisions. Right? Yeah. It's all about mapping the scenarios, right? That it can map out different scenarios way faster than a human could. Yeah. And then it's gonna be up to the human to make that decision. Right. In an organized way. In an organized fashion, yes. Yeah. So the only caveat here is try not to create too many options, too many scenarios. Right. Because then it creates a paradox of choice. Yes. Right. For the account manager. The account manager. So you go through vetting the top 3, so you don't have to go and see 5, 10 different options and then get lost into the mix. It's like going to the supermarket hungry and you either buy everything or you buy nothing. Yeah, the problem is too many options. I usually buy everything. So cool. Appreciate that conversation about AI. I think that, I don't want to miss the opportunity to ask you about e-commerce because you're e-commerce savage, right? You know everything about it. And out of my own curiosity, and I think this can help a lot of people, I often see e-commerce people talking about ads, right? You got to change the ads, you got to change the creatives, you got to change
they're only thinking about the front end of getting the traffic to the website, but you're a specialist in website conversion rate optimization, right? And so, what are the top things that people, e-commerce business owners or e-commerce agencies should think about in terms of landing page? Let's talk about lead gen, right? What are some of the most useful folds of a landing page?
Okay, can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
And you start one step before.
There you go. That's the magic.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's common for entrepreneurs to say, especially coming from that direct response type of environment, I'm gonna put $1 here. Let me see how many dollars I get back. Let me bring it back to that dollar to the machine and continue to flip that money right into the media buying environment.
ROAS. What's my ROAS?
What is my ROAS?
Yeah.
Right? That's the name of the game. And then you do that over and over and over again. You either do it on your own or you hire an agency to do it for you. That's how it's happened. It's natural. It's a natural projection of the relationships, right? In the e-com space or any digital marketing. So you focus a lot on driving traffic. So let's make an analogy here as traffic being the water.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And then the machine being the bucket.
Right.
Right? But the bucket has a bunch of different holes in it.
Right.
Right? And then as you're pouring water into this bucket, you're literally just, that's what you get to keep is your conversion rate.
Right.
Right?
Uh-huh.
It's the money that you get to make, right? So the more you get to plug those holes, close those holes, the more money you get to keep.
Totally.
That's a mindset shift that we have to go through the process with our clients to help them understand that that's the most efficient way to go, to work on the machine rather than increase their budget, their ad spend.
Right.
Because if you get to an agency, and here's my suggestion to the agencies. If you get to look into the conversion rate optimization, AOV optimization part of the process, you get to provide more value to your customers, to your clients, by having them keep more money. Rather than going through the process of saying, okay, client comes in and say, I want to make more money. Instead of you saying, well, I'm going to say, increase the ad budget, which is the norm.
Yeah.
Right? More ad budget, more ad budget commissions.
Yeah.
Right? It's normal.
Yeah.
They're gonna go through that process because that's the easiest way for them to make the money. However, they think about the short term, how much money can I make right now? That's why they say increase your ad budget. Well, the problem is that once they increase their ad budget, you have something that's called performance loss. Right? But let's just take that off the equation for a second. Okay. Let's say you're sending 1,000 visits to your store every single day, and you sell to 30 people. You have a conversion rate of 3, right? Send 1,000 people, sell to 30. You have 3% conversion rate. Right? Me as a client gets you in and say, I want to double my revenue, right? You're going to say, most likely, double your ad spend. Yes. So we're going to send 2,000 people to the store, right? Yes, you're technically making 60 sales. If you go from 1,000 visits to 2,000 visits, you still have the same conversion rate because the bucket still has the same holes in it. Yeah. Right? You still have 3% conversion rate. So you're just going to double the amount of orders, but you're not going to double the efficiency. True. And you're going to keep the same holes, but you're just going to increase the speed of the faucet. Exactly. And I'm not even accounting for performance loss. Okay. Leave that to the side. Okay. Right? So you're doubling of course, all of a sudden you're making more sales, but your profit margins haven't increased. Right. It hasn't. That's just the name of the game. It's the norm.
You're making more volume of money, but at the same profit margins, or even lower, because the more you spend, the higher your cost of acquisition becomes, and the lesser your margin becomes, because you're not looking at the performance loss or the conversion rate of the website.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So that's where the value that you get to communicate with the client, even as a media buying agency, can be about building that relationship for a lot longer, even though you're not gonna make as much money right now. Is how can you look into your funnel? Look into the machine, to the money-making machine. So instead of you doubling up on your ad spend from 1 week to the other, instead of having a 3% conversion rate, you have a 3.5, 4%. All of a sudden, the same traffic that you send, the same 1,000 people that you send here, from 1 week to another, you're going from a 3% to a 3.5%, you're selling 35 every single day.
Okay, I'm sold. So now let's look at conversion rate optimization. How do we start?
The conversion rate optimization process is very meticulous and ongoing.
Okay.
Right? It always starts with heuristic analysis. Right? How do you go through your funnel and understand what are the main friction points? Right? What's actually generating friction for your visitors? Right? So you comb through every single section: header, hero image, unique value propositions, objection handling. All of those sections, you get to comb through them.
How do you comb through them?
We usually do that on a Figma board, right?
Okay.
So I take a screenshot of everything and then I start to point things out.
But then you use your knowledge to look through it, right?
Well, let me put it this way.
Okay.
We have a lot of data.
Okay.
So we use all the data that we've collected over time.
How do you collect data?
Testing.
No, but like
Through
Google Analytics?
Yes, through
Okay.
testing. Different platforms, right? Google Analytics specifically.
Okay. So you use Google Analytics to look at the metrics?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's stick to Google Analytics for the time being,
Okay.
right? But basically you have the data, we have the data that we've collected, you have the best practices in the industry, because there is a lot of information. There are a lot of information out there that that has been known for a long time to improve the user experience, right? So we combine those two things. And then we bring in competitor analysis to remove biased opinions from the process. Because if we're in one niche, there are players, they're king of the category. They're kings in the category, right? That have been doing things at excellence for a long time. So what we get to do is to analyze what they've been doing, so we can not use them as a reference, but bring what their references are into this equation. So we put our data, best practices, and competitor analysis into one pillar. And we make this as our starting point. So
those are your building blocks,
Yes.
essentially, that you're bringing together so that you can look at that and then compare that to what the client has, and additionally create your suggestion of what it should have, right? So when you have this, what it should have, what happens after?
Okay, so now it's the time to go to the next stage of CRL, which is creating hypothesis. So then for every issue that we've identified, we go ahead and we set the goal, right? Okay, we actually go through the process of analyzing what those are, and then basically we create different hypotheses, different ideas of how to test against those problems. Does that make sense? So you have a problem. So let's put it this way. You have on a hero banner of your store or of your homepage, you have one banner that does not have a clear call to action, a clear offer. Then the hypothesis would be, can we run a test that shows that variation with a clear offer instead, and let's see which one wins, right? So then by creating different hypotheses, we can go into what I just said, which is the third level of it, which is testing. That's where we run A/B tests, split tests, multivariate tests. It all depends on the amount of traffic that store has, so it can acquire what's called statistical significance.
Sample data.
Yes.
What's the
We're in the lab. We're in the lab.
Right.
Right?
Exactly. We're in the lab. We're in the growth lab.
Yes.
And so what's a good volume of sample tests? Like 500 visits, 1,000 visits? When do you validate, at how many visits do you validate your hypothesis?
Okay. It differs from business to business, right? From verticals to verticals. I mean, it all depends.
Right.
A rule of thumb, and of course, there are people who are my question, but the rule of thumb, at least a way for us to calculate what would be worth for us to at least run a test would be at least 50,000 visits per variation.
Wow.
But of course, it's a way more meticulous calculation that we need to
Right,
go
you're
through.
talking about a lift of like 2% to 3%, or like 2% to 2.5%. We're talking about websites that get a lot of volume.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so a little bit of difference at 0.3% might
It's
mean
huge.
$200,000.
It's huge.
Right?
So let me put it this way. Let me give you some case studies here real quick.
Great.
2 tests we ran for this specific client within a 30-day period. Okay? So let's put it this way. Let's just start it this way. As a rule of thumb, for every 3 tests, 1 is a winner, an average. So we won quite a bit. As a test ground for this specific client, we ran 2 tests for them. 2 of the winners was, 1 generated, instead of tracking the lift in conversions, the conversion rate, we track the monthly monetary contribution. How much money we get to make him through that test right off the bat that gets stacked over the year, over the months.
Okay, explain that again.
Okay, I'm gonna do it. We're running a test.
Right.
Now I understand that variant A overcame control.
Okay.
It's a winner, right? It lifted about 0.2%, depending on how huge the client is, right? How much?
Okay, so that 0.2% was an extra $50,000 more than they were making with that product, let's say.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So that $50,000 more, right?
Times 12 months.
$600,000
A year.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Okay.
that is the metric that we tend to track.
Okay.
How much money do I get to add to your business on a monthly basis, especially on month 1, so I understand and I can talk to you about the ROI that you're having
Right.
by contracting me.
Right.
So I'm saying for this client specifically, we ran 2 different tests that were winners. One was about $160,000, another one was $50,000.
Wow.
So that was like 22 ROI right in there.
22 ROI
Month
by month 1. And so in a year, they're talking about
2.4 million
$2.4 million
with 2 tests.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? The flip side of it is testing things that also raise the bar for us to understand what are the negative tests, how much money we got to save them by testing things rather than just implementing them on the fly through biased opinions. Right?
Right, like best practices. So let's say like a lot of people in the CRO space, they're gonna carry biases because they tested something in one client, it worked really well. They tested in another, it worked really well. They're convinced if I test it in everyone, it's gonna work really well. And so they go ahead, instead of testing with a smaller volume, they go ahead and implement that change, and it works negatively, right? So that's something that you're not doing. You have a very methodical approach where the tests that you're running are very calculated, small volume, you identify those winners, and then you bring that scale.
Exactly, because ideally you get to utilize up to 5% of that whole traffic, just a simple size of that traffic. Of course, that there are agencies out there or clients who are way more aggressive and they just want you to go hard, right? But I'm very meticulous and very caring of their own money, because we care. One of our main values is to care for their business more, just like it's our own business.
Right.
Right. So that's how we operate. That's how we position ourselves. So instead of just going crazy and being super aggressive, it's all about risk management, right? Because think about it this way: if it is, there's a huge difference between $100,000 a month client to a $10 million a month client, right? If I run a test with a $100,000 client with 20% of that, you know what that looks like, and then for a 10 million per month client, it's locked, right? So the impact is huge. So I prefer to just go closer to 5% and then testing that out, and then gradually implement things.
You know, it's really interesting that what your work is CRO work, right? And the way that you optimize your agency is essentially CRO work. You look at what you already have and what you can improve. Instead of thinking, I need more. No, you don't. You just need to improve what you already have. So that's a really big takeaway, I think, for our listeners. One thing that I want to highlight as well, maybe people missed this takeaway also from the conversion rate optimization and making a case for CRO, is that this case study that you talked about, right, was essentially a 22x return on month one. So if we times that in a linear way for the whole year, we're talking about 20 times 12, right? So 20 times 12, we're talking about 240x ROAS. Is that right?
Yeah.
You can never get that with the cost of acquisition. You can never get a 240x ROAS by focusing on paid traffic only, right?
That's why you're looking at optimizing the heck out of the machine.
Yes. And so, if that's not clear to people listening, listen to this last 10 minutes again, because it actually opened my mind to what I could be doing, especially to clients that we have that are spending $200,000-$300,000 on cost of acquisition and have holes everywhere.
Lots of it.
That's awesome. And, making a transition a little bit to trends and innovations in the e-commerce world. AI is one of the trends. What are some of the other trends that you're seeing for 2025?
UCG is huge, right? And of course, as we tap into AI, things are going to be a lot easier. I believe that having UCG, user-generated content, right? For your e-commerce businesses is basically one of the biggest levers that they can pull, because it taps into the social proof bias, right? If you're doing it, I'm doing it, everybody's doing it, then it makes a lot more sense for me just to trust what the people are saying and do the same.
Right.
And trust that product and buy it from you. So it's not just a trend that is here for 2025. It's been happening. But a lot of e-commerce entrepreneurs are still lagging behind on doing it.
Okay.
Right? They're leaving that. They're focused a lot on copywriting, a lot on ads, static ads, product ads, rather than bringing in human touch. I feel like as we go through AI, humans are going to be way more valuable.
True.
right?
That's like an interesting switch in terms of mindset,
Mm-hmm.
right? That we're not going to become less valuable with AI. We're going to become more valuable.
Yep.
Depending on what we do, though.
Exactly. And depending on how quickly you want to shift, right?
But like, what are you talking about UGC? Like, what specifically can agencies or e-commerce stores do more of in relation to UGC?
For example, product reviews, right? Unboxing of that product. So I can show that on my ads. I can show that on my product page, right? That's what I'm talking about, UGC.
Okay.
Right?
So showing it on product pages, I haven't seen too much unboxing inside of product pages, right? Like, so people do a lot of that?
Why not?
Okay.
I mean, it's all, again, it all comes with testing.
Right.
You get to apply the best practices to any store, right? If you come up with a shitty store that I can just point out a bunch of different things in there that are holes in it that we've tested over the years, I'm gonna say, okay, let's just apply the best practices depending on how the revenue levels are, right? But if it is, I mean, it's all about being meticulous about the testing, right? It's testing things out on a way that aligns with what your audience is accustomed to, right? Because the best practices, it's a one-size-fits-all type of deal. So you get to apply this across the board for every single client, or at least test against what they already have, right? But your audience is very succinct and dialed to your communication, to your positioning. So they're gonna relate to that specific change on their own way. So you get to collect that data to fully understand how to speak to them, not only through videos, through copy, but also through the actual experience they have on the layout, right? Because for one brand, it might be pink, for another one, a background might be pink, for another one might be yellow. Two different things.
Yeah.
Right?
Amazing. Well, let's kind of switch gears here, and I think this conversation has been super fun. It's actually my first podcast that I do physically. I've done most of them virtually, so it's a totally different dynamic.
Nice.
So thanks for being a part of it.
Happy to be here.
So rapid fire questions. I'm just gonna read them out, 10 to 20 seconds answering them, whatever comes to mind. So what's the most impactful software tool that you use to run your agency?
ChatGPT.
How many niches is your agency actively involved in?
Many. We focus on e-commerce, Shopify e-commerce, but we cater to every single niche. So from jiu-jitsu videos all the way to, supplements.
Awesome. What's your average monthly ad spend for marketing and acquisition costs?
We've been pretty low since we've started this over 8 months ago and been focused on controlling the acquisition channel. We've been gradually getting to that level. So we've been at, we started at 1,000. If I'm not mistaken, now we're at 4,000 or 5,000 a month. It's not that much.
Okay. Can you share one unique tactic you've used to acquire new clients?
For sure. Events.
Okay.
That's as simple as that.
Awesome. If you could automate one part of your business, what would it be?
Replacing me.
There you go. It's hard. Well, you have two brothers, so that's as close as you're gonna get to that. Cool. And which marketing trend do you think is overrated?
Marketing trend is overrated. Well, pushing a lot of traffic to this store, pushing a lot of traffic to a leaky bucket.
Amazing. I love that. If you had to focus on only one marketing channel for growth, what would it be?
Google.
Search?
Search.
Awesome. Ballpark What's your current revenue and how was your agency initially funded?
Well, I'm all about bootstrapping the heck out of everything. So we've grown from zero and we've stayed for a long time into the 40s, and then we keep on spiking between 80 and 110-ish. So we keep on going through those levels, and I believe that this year is going to be a lot about tripling that number.
Woo! Tripling your MRR. That's awesome. And how do you manage cash flow as you scale?
Wow, that's a tough one.
That's a tough one.
Yes. Well, basically, of course, it's about reducing costs, right, as much as possible, looking deep into how we're doing business, what can be cut, right, what's not being used, because it's too easy for us just to add a bunch of stuff that's not being used for a long time, and counterbalancing it with new skin in the game, right, new clients.
Awesome. And so what's the size of your team and how do you approach hiring?
Okay, as I mentioned, don't quote me for that, it's about 21, I would say. The way that we approach hiring is about understanding that we are a school. We're here to teach them, right? It's about not only showing them our vision, but it's also to understand our collaborators' vision, that we can help them grow and paint that vision from themselves while we paint our own.
Amazing. Last question. What's your biggest bottleneck today?
Me.
I knew it. Amazing. Well, Igor, tell this camera, where can people find you, and what's your message for them here today?
Right on. Hello. Well, basically, just find me on Insta, official Igor Silva, right? My message is take care of your clients. Take care of your clients with all the passion that you got for your own business. That's how we operate, right? You don't have to do things I do or the way I do, but the more I care and I love the game for my clients, the highest is going to be the level of relationship that I build with them. So it's not about what they do or what they make, it's about who they are. So the more we tap into who they are and provide the most value to them, the LTV goes higher.
Awesome, Igor. Well, you can find him at his social media. We're going to be linking that. You can also check him out in his website, vasta.me. If you want to learn more about CRO stuff, tap into his profile. He does create a lot of content about that. And thank you for tuning in to Growth Lab Sessions. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, comment. Hit me up on social media at JOWAU. And until next time, keep scaling and keep growing. I'll see you on the next one.